because it's not about depriving yourself of your favorite foods. You don't want to deprive yourself. I mean, that wouldn't be a fun life, right? It's really about adopting a sustainable approach to healthy eating by really allowing yourself to have that flexibility. And then you can maintain a balanced relationship with food. Welcome to the Life is a Healing Journey podcast by yours truly, Anuschka, with a C. This podcast explores how you can create a true healthy lifestyle and live your life to the fullest in the face of any circumstance by healing and balancing your mind, body, spirit. If you are someone that's been dealing with disharmony in any area of your life and you are committed to seeking harmony, this podcast is for you. Let's start healing. Today's podcast is focused on the body piece of mind, body, spirit. Did you know that the weight loss, or more so really weight management industry, is a multi-billion-dollar industry? Multi-billion-dollar. There's a reason for that. Because majority of the people, including myself, have at one point or another struggled with some version of weight management, which I did I would say, all the way through mid-30s, really. So all my 20s, I'm sure in high school, I do remember having some struggles, and all the way through mid-30s, well, really up until where I had my rebirth, really. And for me personally, I always struggled in terms of just yo-yoing. So I was always looking for the next new thing out, all the new fads, like all the new diets. If you remember back then, it was the Atkins diet, and then there was a slim fast and Weight Watchers, and oh my gosh, I remember doing the soup diet. Oh my gosh, there was a lot of hangry moments at that time. Even going as far as just eating salad all day, and who knows what else I did. I even did do the keto diet way back again in my 20s. I was 25, so it was way before. Nowadays, it's like a whole thing, right? Like you see keto on all kinds of different products that you're trying to buy out there. Whereas back then, it wasn't really as known. And I would go into the clinic 2 to 3 times a week to check whether I was in ketosis or not. Yes, by urine on a stick. And I would do so to just confirm if I'm following this strict diet, because that's really what it was. Now, of course, I did end up sticking to it probably the most out of all the other diets, and I didn't yo-yo as much. And it was extremely strict, to the point that I really remember, especially during that time, it was just not sustainable for me. I did end up losing about 25 pounds from what I remember. And I do remember thinking, wow, like when you actually focus on it and take on a diet, it's going to work. Yet it was temporary, as all the other diets were. Of course, we all know how to lose weight. I mean, it doesn't take rocket science. It's not brain surgery. No pun intended, because, with me and my brain surgery. But it really is that most people know. It's like, oh, okay, well, if I eat healthy and I do some working out, well, then I will lose weight. There's so much more to it than that. I'm not going to get into all the psychological aspects of it today, because it's focused on the body today. And at some point, I will definitely talk more about the psychological aspect and the energy that we hold on to when it comes to the fat. Fat in itself is protection. Again, that's a whole nother episode. When we actually do eat well-balanced meals, drink lots of water, and exercise, for the most part, that typically works. Again, in certain cases, it does not, because of other factors. And again, this is more what I want to talk about, is the golden 80-20 rule today. Before my rebirth, actually, before I became this empowerment health coach and spiritual healer, Psych K facilitator and all. I actually had started on the path, on this path of being a health coach. Like I actually started with coaching through health coaching. I was a very private person before actually the health coaching. And before getting into this nutrition system, which I'll share with you in a second. And I remember all my pictures would be super private. I had lists on social media where it was very private. Only certain people could see it. And I wouldn't want anybody ever to tag. I mean, if you follow me on social media, of course, you're going to be shocked because I am very public and very open. And I share my journey of all the vulnerabilities and everything all the time. That was not the case back then. And I always believe there's a stepping stone to get you to that next level. It's like life is a zipper, right? And so for me, I remember this back in 2015. I had just started, I was halfway through Landmark Worldwide at the time. I had been doing quite a bit of personal transformation work. And I had set a goal to really tone up more than I ever had in my life. And so at that time, I remember I was working out a lot. I was going to Orange Theory probably 4 times a week, playing volleyball some of the other days, eating cleaner than ever, like super clean, cooking all the time, meal prepping all the time. And then I had hit a plateau. And now when I look back, it's like there's never a coincidence. It so happened that my best friend from high school, Rachel, who actually was a guest on Life is a Healing Journey, just a month ago, episode 21. She invited me, and it just so happened, by the way, that this event was in San Diego, and I was living in San Diego at the time. And she invited me to one of those network marketing events. I was super skeptical. She had asked me a few times in the last year before that, and I just honestly was extremely skeptical when it came to network marketing because I had gone really screwed over by one in my early 20s. And so I just, as soon as I would hear that, it was as if like alarms were going off. But then I realized I trust her and she's so not like that. And she wouldn't get into something that is a scam because that's just not how she is. So I figured, why not? I have nothing to lose. Let me just check out this event. It's here in my city, and it's actually regarding what I've been wanting to do, which is push through this breakthrough, this plateau, really. And because that was really my biggest goal, I figured, okay, let's go ahead and check it out. It was on the weekend. So I told her to begin with, I'm like, I'm just going to come for the weekend part. Because I believe it was like a Saturday, Sunday. I mean, this is 2015, so I feel like I don't remember. It's a little fuzzy. But I remember it was definitely on a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, possibly Tuesday. And I said, I'm only going to come for the weekend and I might not be able to stay the whole time and all this stuff. I went in and I was hooked while I was at the event, to the point that I actually called into work that Monday to continue going to the event because I really got interested and fascinated by all the different product lines that they had that were super clean, and the processing that they had gone through, it just seemed like it was very on point, and it wasn't just one of those random meal, like, protein shakes that you just get. It was very well thought out and lots of science behind it. And it was not just, oh, here, this is a shake, right? It was more of like a nutrition system, which really inspired me because I knew that I had some stress when I came to work, and it included stress management. It included intermittent fasting for detoxing and all these things. And of course, it was a group of a really supportive community. Everybody was so positive there and so high vibing. And so I figured, why not? Like, I was already on my journey of personal transformation. And at that time, I started believing that things don't just happen coincidentally. There's a reason this came into my path. And so I decided to just give this a try. So I fully dove in and I followed the system for 6 weeks. And I truly couldn't believe my eyes and the transformation that my body had. And I literally was in shock. And literally my clothes were falling off of me. I could stick like bottles in my pants. Like I literally had to get rid of a lot of clothes. Yeah. And you wouldn't think that just by intermittent fasting and detoxing and following a system, something like this would happen, because I really only lost 9 pounds and I retained all the muscles. So this is one of the biggest reasons why I always coach people not to weigh themselves. Because when you're working out and if you are having a decent amount of protein, your muscle is going to weigh more than fat, period. So as you heard, I just said lost 9 pounds, but the amount of inches I lost, I mean, I think it was like overall full body, it was over 20. I want to say like 23, 24. My waist itself, I went in 4 sizes. And that's like when my 6-pack came through, and I really could notice a huge difference, like I said, in my clothes more than anything. And really the weight barely moved, because why? The muscle is denser and heavier than fat. So if you weigh yourself, put that scale away, maybe weigh yourself once a month or whatever that whatever that looks like for you. I personally weigh myself every 16 weeks just because I do a challenge every 16 weeks and it has me put my weight in. So that's it. Other than that, I don't weigh myself, maybe at the doctor's, but that's it, because that can totally mess with your mind on a daily basis. You retain water. You might, as a female, you might be getting your cycle, and that's going to make all kinds of differences in the scale. So it really can change your mood for the entire day. So why would you do that to yourself? Plus, when you measure yourself, it's a much more accurate measurement, really, right? Or pants. Like I have these one pants that, like right now, I know they won't fit me because I have gained some weight, and I'm actually okay with that, right? I've done so much work that I know I'm still living a healthy lifestyle, that's what today's about. So that said, when I realized all this, I also learned that it was so much more that Isagenix had. It was Isagenix, by the way, the nutrition system, that offered more than just products, because I got really interested in really learning about all the different things that they had talked about in terms of just our produce and the crop being like our soil is overcropped here in the United States, unfortunately, unless you're getting them from like local farmers or something. And if you are, that's awesome. I do my best to do that. Even organic, unfortunately, that still gets overcropped if you're getting it from some other, non-local farmers. And what happens when it gets overcropped, which means it's just the soil is just it's continuously getting used and grown. Well, then the nutrition in it gets depleted, right? So then it becomes it's resulting in nutrient depletion. And then the produce lacks those minerals that the produce used to have back in the 50s. And there's all kinds of research that has been done on this. And I remember back then I went down the rabbit hole, and this is like I said in 2015. So I can only imagine. I doubt things have gotten better. So really, if you are interested in learning more about it, take a look. So it really is important to supplement your body in addition to the whole foods you're having, if you're not getting things from a local farmer, because of the, again, nutrient depletion that soil has, unfortunately. I also learned how stress and cortisol is a huge factor when it comes to weight loss, and really just not being able to lose the weight because of just what cortisol does to the body. It actually sticks to the fat in like the visceral area, becomes a sticky fat. And just with the whole autonomic nervous system, that was a whole nother episode, it really does cause the fat not to melt off. That's also when I learned to change my words. So instead of that using weight loss, I started using weight management, because not everyone is out there for weight loss. There are actually people that are really wanting to gain weight and they can't. And this was something new to me. And besides, when you think about loss, it's just, again, when you look at words and the energy of them, not always the best to describe it that way rather than weight management, right? So it's really looking at it as like, and more so, healthy lifestyle. again, instead of diet, right, shifting to healthy lifestyle. So I stopped using the word diet then as well and began looking at it as this is a healthy lifestyle because this is something that we want to maintain for a life, for our lives, right? Not just for a temporary time. It's actually really fascinating when you start to really get into the world of healthy eating and just all the different little things that go with it. And so I really wanted to really look at this through the lens of the 80-20 rule. First off, again, when we're looking at the word diet, when you look up synonyms of the word diet, you see words like abstinence from food, restriction, starvation, and such words like that, where all of it, it's just like, oh, I can't have that. I can't have this. And so imagine, as humans, our nature is we want what we cannot have. So subconsciously, whether you're thinking about it consciously or not, you're going to want the things that you're not allowed to have because the diet's telling you can't have that. I remember that happened to me every single time. Now I would push through it because I was very much like, what is it called? Like headstrong and disciplined. And I was very much like committed to my goal. And it made it tough. It made it really tough to really have to discipline myself to that extent rather than looking at it as like, well, what does an 80-20 lifestyle look like? This is when I really started learning about it because diets are temporary. Once you reach your goal, what happens then? What happens once you get to that weight that you've been wanting to get to or the clothes size that you've been wanting to get to? Then what? Right? So when you look at it as a healthy lifestyle, a true healthy lifestyle, it's one that you can maintain for life rather than thinking about restricting yourself. Because every time you restrict yourself, what do you think your mind goes to? I know mine always did. Even if I really tried hard not to think about that dark chocolate candy or bar or whatever, right? It'll go there, especially if you've gone into the habit of eating that regularly. Right? Sometimes it's tough to just go straight cold turkey when it comes to these things because your body's gotten in such a habit. And when following the golden 80-20 rule, you don't have restrictions. Instead, if you look at it this way, you look at it as like, if you were to take the 7 days of a week and eat healthy 6 of those days and treat yourself one of those days. This is how I coach my clients, is to start out this way. Just eat healthy all week and then choose like a Saturday or a Sunday where you just indulge and you just treat yourself. Now, of course, when you look at it like this, it's like, oh, okay, if you do that, it's almost 86% healthy. That's right. That's even more than 80%. Now, when I say 80-20, it's usually 80 or more, right? 80 or more percent healthy. And then the remainder is treating yourself. This, of course, is going to take that conscious, mindful effort to start. And it might not be easy at first. So that's why this is a really good way to get started, is to just do the 1 day a week where you just treat yourself. Again, this is treating yourself, not cheating. A lot of times I hear people are like, oh, it was a cheat meal, or I just cheated. And it's, you want to take, again, words are powerful. So you want to take that word of cheating out of your vocabulary. You're not cheating yourself. And it's a low vibing word. And it carries guilt with it. So again, guilt is one of the lowest vibrations, right? Guilt and shame are very low. So when you're thinking of it as I'm cheating myself, there's a guilt to it. And that vibration itself will actually cause your body to hold on to whatever it is you're eating more than just fully eating it with joy. Treating yourself like it's a reward. It's really about shifting your self-talk on these treat meals too, by really enjoying every single bite that you take. Taking that bite and with complete fulfillment, complete joy, savoring each moment, not like chowing down on it, right? Because the whole reason food is so great is because of the taste buds. The reason we love food is not because our stomach, because really food is fuel, right? But really the reason why that we just love food is the way it tastes, the flavor that it has. So when you're eating something that you think it's bad, right? Get rid of that mentality. Instead, enjoy it. Otherwise, what's the point? What's the point of even having that pie or donut? Well, I don't know. People have a thing with donuts. Donuts are not my thing. Maybe Krispy Kreme, I think I've had a couple times, but that's it. When you really are thinking about like that delicious treat that you're having and you're doing it from a place of guilt and shame, it really is just, you're not doing your body good, period. Like it's like a double slam, right? Even if you're eating salad and not enjoying it, you're still doing your body harm because it's not going to benefit your body as it would if you're actually eating that salad with joy. Anytime that you're eating food, find the ones that you do find delicious because there's a ton of healthy foods that are delicious. I've literally created, I don't even know how, I used to actually have a hashtag, healthy yet yummy, because I always was about creating, and I still do, like creating healthy food that does taste good too, where it doesn't taste like medicine or whatever people may think of it. I personally am not the biggest fan of cold veggies or salads. It's just not been my biggest thing. And I used to almost like forcefully eat it until I started to actually make my own salads and only put the things that I really like in the salad. And a lot of times that included nuts or some fruit, because that's just my version of a good salad. Like I'm not big on the raw broccoli or celery. I don't know. There are just certain things, or cauliflower. Like I liked them all. I like all of these veggies cooked or steamed. It's just not my thing to eat them raw. And so I would eat them, but I wouldn't enjoy it. And so that in itself, it was like, I could feel just myself like as if I'm eating medicine. Well, what's the fun in that, right? So you really want to find the things that you truly enjoy. Otherwise, it's like you're telling your body to reject it. So it's going to reject the nutrients and everything to some extent too, because it's like, ooh, this must not be good if I'm just not joyfully eating it. Nowadays, I do eat healthy 80% or more of the time. And again, it took something for me to get to that place because of everything, of course, I went through and really the rebirth that I had. But really, when I go to places, it's not like I have to take one full day and only treat myself that day and eat healthy 6 days a week. That's a really great way to start. Nowadays, I'll go to like a party or birthday or something, and I can easily have a bite or two of the cake just to taste it, or a dip or something just to taste it. And that just satisfies my taste buds. That to me is a treat. I don't need that entire piece of cake or pie to really fulfill my tongue. Because again, that's what you're eating for, right? It's just the flavor that we're enjoying. And not like, because if you notice, I'm sure everyone has had this experience where you overeat to the point where your stomach's when you binge, your stomach is exploding. And that's just not a good feeling. I mean, I know I can't handle that. I just hate that feeling. And I'm sure everyone else has experienced that, where they're taking one too many bites and then they feel their pants getting tighter. You want to open up that button and you're just like, oh, why did I do that to myself? And it's all because of the flavor. It's all about that taste that you're just like, oh, this is so good. There's a whole thing on intuitive eating, which is part of intuitive living. And I'm going to talk about that the next episode, because that's a big part of just following all of that too, right? Is really not waiting until you're starving to eat, because you will binge at that point. It's also really about finding balance and flexibility in your eating habits. Because when you lose that balance and you forget about the whole healthy lifestyle, it's really easy just to eat whatever is there without being mindful when you become completely mindless. And I'm not going to lie, I know that last year, even though I had gone through this whole nutrition system, I had worked out, toned up. I even took fitness photo shoots. It was like my very first photo shoot ever, and it was like a fitness one. And I had done all that in 2015. And then when it came to, because 2017 is when I went through everything. So that whole year of 2017, I kind of had lost myself again. It was like right before the rebirth, right? Before I was diagnosed, I completely lost all motivation. All because of the location of the tumor, come to find out, right? I didn't know this. As I've mentioned more details about this in a previous episode. I like working out and volleyball and dancing have always been my thing. It's like literally, I love all of them. They all felt like chores. And I was just mindlessly eating all the time. So I did end up gaining a ton of weight again that whole year or so. It was probably like 8 months, year. I don't know, about whatever it was. I know that I had gained quite a bit of weight when I went into surgery. Even though I was still having my morning meal replacement shakes and whatnot from isogenics. And by the way, the whole nutrition system, you do eat. I just wanted to make sure that people didn't think I was just having shakes. It was definitely not like that. It was just a couple meal replacements, and I still was eating a balanced meal, which I will give you that at the end for the practice area, like how you can really look at what a balanced meal looks like, right? But really, when I I was like going through that whole last year, I was also still doing intermittent fasting for about 36 hours here and there, though. It wasn't like as consistent. I just knew I just wasn't very consistent with anything, and I felt guilty because I wasn't motivated and all these things. So of course, it just caused the weight to come back. And I sometimes look at pictures like a month before I went in for the MRI, and I just get blown away about like just looking about how much I had gained back. Because again, it was still in my mind. It still was like a diet, right? I had said I want a healthy lifestyle, but it really hadn't shifted fully until I was faced with death, until I was told or given a life sentence. And that's really when things shifted for good. That's when I really knew that all that mattered was my health. Nothing else mattered but my health. And I was recommended to go organic vegan 90% or more of the time, which was very difficult because I had to give up meat, cheese, and eggs. And I didn't even consider a meal without like at least one of those. And yes, I did cry at times. The first couple of months was really difficult. And I knew I was doing this for my life because my life was more important than what I was putting in my mouth. And so I just decided that this is what it's going to be. And I went full on organic vegan. And after a couple months, your body gets used to the way you eat. It's just the first couple months, especially the first 21 days being, the habit. But first 2 months or so is when you truly have to be very disciplined. And then at that point, you might get cravings here and there. And that's why, again, never 100%, right? I never said even then I was 100% organic vegan because that's just not human. We are going to have cravings. And so I still was having those cravings at times. After I went through everything, and I really, really understood that, okay, yeah, diets just don't work because it's just never going to be a lifestyle. So that's really when I really chose to shift after about I think once chemo was done is when I decided to go full on 80-20. And it was 80-20 at that point for me was still organic vegan. Slowly, I started introducing other things in that 20%, right? I still would have like fish here and there or whatever, like lamb. I love lamb, right? So I would have that here and there. At this point, I don't really follow any restrictions or labels, I should say. I say I'm Anuschka. I don't know. I haven't come up with a fun name for it, but I just follow what my own cravings are. And for the most part, it is that 80% healthy foods and then 20% treating yourself, because it's not about depriving yourself of your favorite foods. You don't want to deprive yourself. I mean, that wouldn't be a fun life, right? It's really about adopting a sustainable approach to healthy eating by really allowing yourself to have that flexibility. And then you can maintain a balanced relationship with food, creating that beautiful relationship with food while and not looking at food as evil, because some do. And they just look at food as if it's like out to get them, instead of looking at it as like, oh my gosh, we're so lucky that we get to have all these different options and we get to choose, right? While still nourishing your body. Because look, this is the temple you have for this rest of your lifetime. So might as well take care of it. It's important to have this suit. This is a body, the bodysuit, right? It's important to remember that healthy eating is actually a long-term commitment. It's not something that's short-term and not this strict, again, the strict diets, they all are going to most likely lead to feelings of, again, that restriction can be also contracting and they're hard to stick with. And it actually can create a lot of emotions that are just not going to be beneficial. With the 80-20, you can enjoy your favorite indulgences occasionally without feeling guilty. And that's the beauty of 80-20. It helps you develop a healthy mindset around food and prevents the feeling of being on any diet out there. Just let go of the term diet. You're not about a diet. It's about living life fully and having a healthy lifestyle. And really, when you look at 80-20, it really does encourage you to make healthier choices most of the time anyway, because you're still allowed, right? Because it's such a mind game. It's such a mind game. It gives you, that you have the option of treating yourself. So when you allow room for these occasional treats on special occasions, then you can and will aim to eat well 80% of the time. And your food choices will revolve around more wholesome options because you'll, in that case, enjoy actually having a colorful vegetable plate and eating these delicious, healthy foods that you can really make. It doesn't have to taste bland, right? So you can make healthy food taste good. When it comes to the 20% of indulgences, it's all about moderation. Allow yourself to enjoy your favorite treats or less healthy foods occasionally, but remember to be mindful of the portion size and frequency. This way, you can still satisfy those cravings without derailing off that healthy lifestyle track. That's why, like I said, I love just when I go anywhere, I'm like, I'm just going to give it a bite. And so it's like, oh, let me give you a piece of cake, birthday cake. And I'm like, sure, I'm just going to have a bite or two. And literally, I would say 99% of the time that's the case, unless I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so good that I will then maybe have more. And it's really essential to listen to your body and really what's coming through, right? If you're just eating just to eat without really listening to your body, because that's the whole intuition piece of it, where I'll like check in with my body to see if another bite would benefit me. Is this bite beneficial? And if it is, then I'll have a third bite or fourth bite. And it's constant intuitive eating. It sounds like a lot of work, and it is initially until it becomes habitual. By being present and savoring your food, you'll be in tune with your hunger and really notice whether you're the hunger and fullness cues. You'll really be able to be in tune with that. Again, that's the intuitive eating. I am going to speak to that the next episode, just because it is part of intuition. And so it will be all about intuitive living. And when you do this, you can prevent that overindulgence and continue promoting a healthy relationship with food. Notice next time you take anything that you really like that you is a treat or not, whatever food, just notice when you're eating the first bite, notice how delicious that first bite is. If it's a food you like, by the way, not just any food, I give food that you really like, that you feel like tastes really good. The first 1 to 3 bites are typically the most delicious. Like it's like, oh, and you literally can feel the saliva building up, like you're salivating, right? After like the 3rd bite or so, maybe 4th, depending how hungry you are, most of the time, it just doesn't have as good as a flavor as the very first bite. So notice that next time. And when that happens, then you know that, okay, at this point, I'm literally no longer eating for the flavor. And for me, that's when I know, okay, at this point, I got the flavor. I don't want the rest of this to go in my body. Right? I mean, wouldn't it be nice if we could just taste it and it would just go through a tube into like another bag? I always think that. I'm like, that would be awesome, because really the main reason we have all these treats is for the flavor of it, right? And so when you do that though, and you really notice that, okay, like at this point, it's just not as flavorful as the first bite, then what's the point of having the rest anyway? That in itself encourages following that 80-20 rule, because you're being mindful at all times. And it allows you to experiment and notice what you can actually find for healthier alternatives for the foods that you do love to indulge in, like your favorite indulgences. And really, I recommend not using I highly recommend really not using the word, I hear this all the time, guilty indulgence. This is a guilty indulgence of mine, or guilty pleasure. I would just highly just consider, just put that out of your mouth. Whenever you use anything in terms of yourself, like and putting guilt in front of it, you're literally creating that vibration within your body. Instead of, and it creates this sense of like, oh, this is forbidden, right? So look at it as, hey, words are powerful. Look at it as like, no, it's not forbidden. It's something that I'm treating myself with, and it's fully rewarded, and enjoy it fully. It's a treat. Again, it's a treat. For me, I used to absolutely love, like my mom would get so grossed out because I would take like a big jar of Nutella in the evenings, and I would just sit there and like watch TV and eat spoonfuls of it. I cannot believe I used to do that, because nowadays, like I remember, I don't know, we were on vacation like earlier this year, and I had like a couple spoons of Nutella. The first one I was like, okay, it wasn't too bad. Like it's like, now back then it was a tablespoon. This time it was just a teaspoon. And I had this, as I had the second one, it was way too sweet for me, because our taste buds are always changing, right? And I couldn't believe that I used to just sit there and eat that, spoonfuls of it. I mean, I still love chocolate, don't get me wrong, but I can't do milk chocolate. I'm all about the dark chocolate. It gets too sweet for me. Whereas that wasn't the case before. Now I've replaced it with almond butter for years now. I've been eating like at nighttime a lot of times. If I just crave something and I don't know what to eat, that's my go-to. I'll just go and have a few spoons of almond butter. Or another one that I've do a lot of is nuts. Like I have a trail mix that I create, and we always have that at home. It was just like, cashews, our favorite nuts, cashews, pistachios, almonds, of course, raisins, things like that. And so every so often, like if I am craving something, that's what my go-to is, instead of getting chips or whatever I used to eat, right? Finding healthier replacements, alternatives to some of the things that you enjoy. And that way you at least feel like, okay, well, I'm still treating myself, but it's healthy, right? So it's still something on the healthy side. Again, portions and frequency are key when it comes to the 80-20 lifestyle. The key is to approach healthy eating as a lifestyle, because it's not a short-term fix. And when you make these conscious choices through this 80-20 rule, you really can create these habits that support your overall well-being. Remember, the 80-20 is not about being perfect. It's not about being 100% of the time on top of it. There are weeks that I do feel like, okay, I'm definitely more 70-30 right now. Or when I go on vacation, don't follow it as much, right? It really is about being flexible, But majority of the time, you want to just see what you can do to find balance and enjoy the journey towards the healthier lifestyle. Make it fun. Even when it comes to exercising and nutrition, I would say find exercising that you enjoy. And don't think that when it's about weight management, it's all about just exercise. A lot of people believe, and I know that things are shifting in the last several years, and there are still people that believe that it's all about the amount you work out, when in fact, there's a whole golden rule with that as well. And I've personally had this experience back in my 20s when I was a complete gym rat. I mean, I'm telling you, I was at the gym probably sometimes 2 hours a day. I definitely was there 7 days a week. And if not, I was doing some other sport or something. And I was eating all the things. And I had the muscles. Like I remember I used to like touch my stomach and it was really hard, but I had a whole layer of fat on top of all my muscles because I was eating all the things. And so I realized this much later in life where it's like, oh yeah, actually it's 80% nutrition and what you put in your mouth, what you eat, and 20% exercise when it comes to the body, right? When it comes to shifting the body and creating the tone body. The exercise is essential too. I've seen people that don't do the exercise and or only either doing intermittent fasting or whatever that may be, and that causes the skin to get a little flabby. So you still want to make sure you bring in that exercise too. That said, because again, this is a whole different episode when it comes to exercise, and that's going to be the intuitive living part. But that said, I hope you were all inspired to integrate the golden 80-20 rule into your life. It goes in terms of eating habits, exercising, nutrition, and even healthy relationships, which that's, again, another topic. But really, if you take on 80-20 in all areas of your life, you'll notice a huge difference. It's not about being perfect. Our souls are perfect, but as humans, we are not. And so it's a matter of not aiming for perfection because you will not get there and you will never be happy. So it's about being better every day, 1% better daily. And remember, it's all about nourishing your body and finding joy in the process. And now for the practice area to integrate into your life. As I mentioned, there's a whole healthy meal that you can follow. It's the guide that I'm going to share with you in order for you to really be able to follow it anywhere you are by using your hands. A healthy meal is a balanced one, and it really should be nutrient dense. That's what it's about. Containing the right portion of protein, complex carbs, fat, fiber, and veggies, right? So this is an easy way to remember just by using your hands on how to determine the portion size of each. When it comes to veggies, you want to put your fists together as if like I know for those that can't see on video, but as if you're punching, you're fist bumping someone, right? So if you're like fist bumping someone, so put those fists together, and those two fists, that's the portion size for the veggies that you want to eat, whether that's raw or steamed or lightly cooked veggies, veggie soup, or anything like that. So two fists is one portion. And then complex carbs, that's one fist. So if you just take one of your fists, that's the amount of complex carbs that you want to have. That's the portion size, whether that's grains, quinoa, brown rice, sweet potatoes, legumes, yams, right? So some of the different things that you can even just type in search. What are some complex carb ideas? And then we have protein. So protein, if you look at the palm of your hand, and I love this one because each person is different in size, right? So of course, if you're going to be a bigger person, your portions are going to be bigger. That's why I love this, that you uses your own hands as a guide. And so you look at the palm of your hand itself, right? The palm, that's the portion that you want for your protein, whether that's poultry, beef, lamb, turkey, fish, eggs. I know nuts and legumes also fall under protein, but nuts and legumes are obviously, like I said, complex carbs, and nuts have some fat in them too, right? But really, when you look at the protein size, that's what you're looking at right there, the palm of your hand. And then we have, of course, good fats. So fat is important too. It's important for the body. I know, especially with my fertility journey, that's one of the things that I've been told is make sure you have a good amount of olive oil and ghee and different things like that because of what it does with the ovaries and eggs, right? So and the portion of that is your thumb. So if you take your thumb, that's the amount of fat that you would have as your portion size. Coconut oil, olive oil, avocado oil, avocados. I love avocados. I do my best to have at least half an avocado a day. If not, like I have these little small ones. So if I have the small ones, then I'd like the whole thing. I love avocados personally. Otherwise, there are other things that you can look at, but like all these different oils that I mentioned, whether it's on salad or however you have them. Some people put it in their shake, like MCT coconut oil. You can just put that in a shake that you're having on a daily basis, right? So just take a look the next time that you're cooking or you're eating out and use your hands. Use your hands and make it a habit to really focus on, okay, what does this look like based on my hands, portion size? And down the road, you're not going to even need that. You're going to be able to just look at something and notice that, oh yeah, this is a healthy, well-balanced meal. Subscribe to not miss at next week's episode, Focus on the Spirit. Thank you for listening to Life is a Healing Journey podcast. You are here to peel and heal one layer at a time, to live your life to the fullest in the face of any circumstance, while embracing a life filled with love, joy, and peace. If you are in disharmony in any area of your life and truly desire to be in harmony and committed to elevating your health and well-being, I'm one click away. Find me at healingwithanuschka.com. And remember, that's Anuschka with a C. And if you like what you heard, please subscribe and share this podcast with your loved ones. Get your healing on. Until next time.